All right, so I heard that we live in a world where a lot of energies aren't seen, but are subconsciously or consciously sensed, right? So,
Hmm.
so what do you see happening now with the energies on Earth, and in what ways is it affecting human consciousness?
Recently, actually, this last past weekend, it really came to me how what I know so far, right? And we only know so much. There's so many infinite possibilities as to what's really happening here. Um, and what came to me as an idea or as a clarity, it works for me and what I'm up to, is that a lot of people are talking about the shift in energy and that's happening to us as human beings. And there's a lot of stuff in the spiritual community that's talking about ascending and going into 5D reality and creating a new time space continuum. And like there's all these different types of possibilities and conversations. But I think what came through this last weekend for me really clearly is that it's not so much about us as it is about planet Earth.
Okay.
So, what I'm discovering for myself right now, and it's still revealing itself to me, so it's not like a mastered idea, but the universe is ever so expanding, and the earth is really Mother Gaia. She is the one that is going through the energetic shift.
Okay.
And because we are a part of her and we are here on this planet, we are automatically going through that shift with her.
Okay.
And so I think what's important right now in really harnessing this new energy that's coming forth, harnessing this new love vibration that's really strong and powerful, is to really connect to the earth, because it's almost egotistical for us to think this is all happening for us to
Mm-hmm.
experience transcendence or ascending or whatever it is that is coming, when really it's earth. She was here before us, and if anything happens in truth, I mean, she would be here after us. So the idea that it's like us going through this as a part of just us is just very singular, rather than expanding it to like, no, this is planet earth. She's shifting vibrations, she's going somewhere else, and we're going with her or we're not.
So,
So it's, yeah.
so in essence, planet Earth is alive. It's a living soul,
100%.
and
Yes.
she called us upon her to experience this shift, or how do we correlate
See,
with
that's the
this?
thing. There's a lot of different ideas. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of, there's so many books out there and theories as to how we came to be. Spirit science is a big one that
That's a big
has
one.
infiltrated the spiritual community, and talking about different alien races coming and expanding our consciousness and manipulating our DNA and all kinds of stuff like that. So, again, I know enough to know I know nothing for sure. And I think
Mm-hmm.
any spiritual person out there that goes out there preaching something as though they know it for 100% sure has missed the point, because we're here as an inquiry and as expansive conversation, and there's no way to say this is 100% true.
Okay.
So in that statement, did earth us as a way to experience itself through these transitions and shifts and changes from a different perspective of focal point, because what the tree is experiencing is very different from us, given that we have language, right, is our most powerful tool. um, Maybe. All I do know for sure is that if you look at the earth's changes in the last, even like, let's say, the last couple hundred years, and what's happening with the atmosphere and the frequencies and what we're discovering about the earth
Yeah.
through NASA and all these amazing things, this is a living, breathing being. Like, she exists, and we have not been connecting to her, which is, I'll talk about the rise of the divine feminine. The rise of the divine feminine, a woman, she knows it takes 9 months to give birth to something. She doesn't rush the process. She doesn't push it. She doesn't force it. She doesn't make this happen or think this should be
Mm-hmm.
happening or that shouldn't be happening. If anybody starts learning about the chakra system, they'll learn the masculine and feminine energy and what it represents. we've been living in very masculine times.
Yeah.
And right now it's time for us to move into the feminine, into the flow, into the trust. And that has a lot to do with connecting to Mother Earth. So I think if you want to, the biggest spiritual teacher right now is Earth. You don't need a guru. You don't need a yoga master. You don't even need a Reiki master. You don't need any of these things. If you really want to connect and expand, just connect to nature. Like, it's your biggest teacher, 100%.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about channeling. What is channeling and how it relates to energies and consciousness?
Yeah. So it's very interesting because I believe so far, what I've come to know as truth for myself is that we are all channeling. Um, there's many of us that, again, it's the ego mind. If you want to really get more in depth with the ego mind and the difference between like yourself, your spirit soul, and ego mind, I highly recommend reading A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. It will clarify and separate it a lot for you. Um, but let's say you come up with an amazing idea and you're like, oh, I came up with this amazing idea. I can't wait to do this. And like 2 years later, you're at home and you're watching the television and you see that amazing idea in manifestation form on the shopping network. And you're like, oh my God, somebody stole my idea. And it's like, no idea is yours.
Okay.
There's like this like, let's imagine like this frequency of thoughts that it just exists out there. And if you are at the frequency that matches that thought, then boom, you get the thought, quote unquote, the idea. So channeling is very much like that. I believe that with the intention of bringing your frequency to a higher frequency, you can then get the thoughts that match that frequency. So a lot of people channel. Artists channel, painters channel, rappers channel. They go into like what Jason Silva calls this flow state. It's like this flow creative state, no filter. You know, rappers are the best for that. They're just going. It's not like they can't think about it. So there's so many forms of channeling. It's not just one form. And I believe we're all channels. Again, we're connected to the earth. So if this energy is coming through, it needs to find an outlet, and it will. It will find an outlet through human beings in different variations, forms, and modalities. So everybody, I believe, is a channel. Um, my specific form of channeling has been probably the most phenomenal experience of my life so far. And I don't take credit for anything other than being responsible for lifting my frequency to the ability that I can receive the wisdom and messages that I've been receiving and been able to share with people, which is really an intentional like expansion of consciousness. It's to help people see things from a higher perspective. Again, you're not coming from this singular point of view of your life. You're
Yeah.
actually coming from this higher point of view where you can see things in a more expansive way.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Would you say that like all of our thoughts as humans are already being channeled from that source that we all come from? So in a sense, our whole personality is just being channeled. That's how we could shift into new versions of ourselves, or is it everything that
Yeah,
makes
what
us
I'm
us?
saying is that you are a channel. All your ideas, all your thoughts, all your these things that are coming to you, you're channeling them. You're receiving them. You are a transmitter, right? You're receiving energy, giving out energy. So it's literally coming to you. It isn't yours. That is the ego. That is the mind that wants to think that it's creating everything and responsible for everything. And it's very singular. It's not at all. There's a connected consciousness. It's really funny. You can go into a room, and I know many people who have had telepathic conversations, or both people are thinking the same thing at the same time. Like, how did that happen? It's not a singular idea, right? We're all connected, and there's a thought wave pattern that connects all of us. And so there's the collective consciousness, and then there's the individual consciousness that's awaking every time. And the more people that awaken, the more it infiltrates the collective, and then eventually everybody will be rising to this new frequency.
Okay. So you have the ability to raise your frequency to the point to merge with higher consciousness energies. So
Yeah.
how do you differentiate that as being a definitive experience rather than being an aspect of your imagination? Or is there a correlation there?
Absolutely. So when I first started, there were definitely moments when I thought I was crazy, or I even thought about like, is this what schizophrenics go through? Like, because
Mm.
they literally, some of them are channeling and experiencing all kinds of different realities that seem very real to them.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a lot of different moments through my journey that it was an up and down. It was definitely not, the experience didn't occur as easy at the time. Um, when is it imagination? It's a good question. When I imagine certain things, okay, so I believe from the teachings that I've learned, there's different levels of consciousness.
Okay.
And a lot of it pertains to the chakra system. A lot of people talk about that. But as you move through these different levels of consciousness, there is this one area, section, I would say it's above the heart. It's after you've worked through all your conditioning and your human stuff. When you come to a place where you recognize that, oh, like Vanessa is just an identity and a form this lifetime, but the eternal soul that I am is this. When you get that, you can come from a higher consciousness. So above that is abstract and fantasy. And what that means is that it sources the same thing. It's like you can go to this imaginative place and create things and then bring down these images and thoughts and ideas and try and formulate a way to bring them down into earth through concrete planning and actions and thoughts and intentions. And I think that people get confused because they'll stay in the fantasy part and they don't actually look at how can I pull this energy in and make it actionable. Um, for example, I'm sure there's tons of women that fantasize about marrying Brad Pitt,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't actually make any sense. Like they're not going to marry Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
So how much of this imagination and fantasy is serving you in your everyday life? You want to forward your thinking to a more abstract, like creative, imaginative place as you were as a child, but really get clear, okay, how can I bring this in and forward it and manifest it into form?
So when you're being
Now,
communicated with, um, when you're channeling, do you feel that it's like part imagination and part like you feel the frequency of another consciousness entering your merging with yours, or
yeah, so how it actually works from my understanding from the channelers that I've been studying, because I really had to figure out what was happening to me and what my experience was. And it's not like I have a bunch of channeler friends.
yeah.
So I was looking at different people and trying to figure out what was going on with me. So from what I understand, as I'm lifting my frequency to a higher place, these frequency energies are kind of lowering theirs and we're kind of like catching each other somewhere in the middle. And
Okay.
then they're able to infiltrate me to the degree that I allow, and to speak through me. Now, again, I said you can channel in many different forms. You can channel through art, through music, through all kinds of stuff. Because I'm a storyteller, because my strongest suit is communication, because I can speak and eloquently, like I manage, I put a lot of time and effort and energy into reading about communication. I think that for me, it shows up in speaking. Like they actually come through me. I'm in a trance state where it's almost like I'm not there. I've kind of like stepped aside. There's different meditations and visuals that I create to allow myself to sort of like just kind of be at peace. And it is like no filter. It's just someone will ask a question and they'll answer it. And they're answering it to the degree that I could never, like my identity, Vanessa, no idea what they're talking about. Do you
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when I listen back to it, I'm like, holy crap, what was that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like really expansive information. So it's just coming through and I can almost like hear it for the first time. And then sometimes I'm not really totally present. And so I kind of have to step aside and just listen to the recordings after.
Wow.
So it's very, very cool. And, um, but it is my responsibility right now is to make sure that I take care of my health, that I take care of my body, my temple, because this energy frequency is coming through me. And I want to be of service, right? Like, I obviously had chosen this, or this is an experience that manifested through me for my own desires. Who knows?
Hmm.
But I really want to honor it. So I'm very much just taking care of my health and making sure that I always am in alignment with whatever the energy wants to serve.